our society today is split on the issue. I believe that the most divisive issue in the church today is homosexuality, and in particular, ordination of homosexuals.
I believe God has created us as we are, and that includes being gay or lesbian or transgendered or bisexual. Sexuality is part of who we are, and instead of a curse from God, it's a gift from God.
1 Corinthians in chapter 12, where Paul talks of the body. The church is the body of Christ, and each part of the body has to work together. So to give you an example, if you have a severely sprained foot, and let's say that that's a homosexual person that's wanting to be ordained. Not that the ankle is wrong or bad or evil, but that it is sprained. And because it is a sprained ankle, the body cannot function and do all the things that a body is supposed to do.
I came to realize that in order to minister to the people that God was calling me to reach, I needed to be a gay or lesbian person. And I think God fully called me out of the closet and to acknowledge who I was myself, to be prepared to deal with the AIDS crisis and burying 10 or 12 or 20 people a month for years on end as they died with AIDS, and to minister to their family. I think I have special, unique gifts and abilities to deal with people in that kind of crisis. And if we try to fight who we are, and if we try to pretend to be who we're not as God had created us, then we're not fully liberated in the good news of the gospel.
A church like Angel of Hope here in Fort Worth that is a small church of about 40, 50 folks, mostly gay, that are gathering in the downtown Fort Worth area. Those communities have a different ethos than a community such as my own. And that particular congregation, that's a good and healthy thing.
I was invited over a 2-year period to speak in 47 of the 52 churches in the Denver Presbytery about AIDS. At that point, if a pastor mentioned AIDS from the pulpit, they often were risking losing their job. People didn't want to talk about gay and lesbian issues. They didn't want to talk about AIDS. And so I would go and say, you must respond to AIDS. You have men and women who are dying of AIDS that need the church's response.
I've been asked at times about whether or not, what kind of responsibility a church has to be more modeled after the tolerance and loving forgiveness and acceptance of Jesus, to be more Christ-like. The question is how did he treat people that were trying to do and be God-like?
I had a couple come to me, and their 16-year-old son had come out to them as gay. They believed that their pastor was giving them wise counsel. They went home and told their son either he went to a program where they would force him to change his orientation, and he would do everything he can to not be gay, or he would be thrown out of the house.
Jesus was not always very tolerant, and nor should the church necessarily be very tolerant.
And they threw him out of the house and out on the street. 24 hours later, he had slit his throat and was laying in a gutter. If only that church had had a gay or lesbian pastor sometime in the last 15 years, maybe the whole congregation would have been different, and maybe those parents would have had a different understanding, and that young man would be alive today.
Is it an issue of separate but equal? Sure, but the church has always been separate but equal.
And I'm not going to change your opinion if you're not willing to understand. If you come in with an idea that this is the only interpretation, then you're not going to change. And so all I say is let's agree to disagree on this issue. And then let's live our lives and let's share what we do have in common in our faith